Welcome back, my internet train friends. This week, we're going to change up the scenery a little bit and head over to my dad's layout. Welcome to Dad's Layout. What a great place to be, and I'm really excited to be doing a video here tonight. So many memories in this house. I grew up here. This is where Dad built all of our earliest train memories, and in 2014, this is when the layout behind me was built. Tonight, we're going to talk about just that. Everything from the track to the design, to the scenic elements on this layout, which has been such a huge inspiration for me. I hope you sit back, relax, and enjoy. I can't wait to get started. I grew up with trains in this house. From loops on the floor, to my N-scale layout that I had as a kid, to the HO layout that my dad had for many years, to the layout that you see behind me. My dad always had trains here. It was always part of my life. And Dad still continues to add and change things from time to time, as we all do. I know on my layout, I'm always messing with different things. And I know just by talking to Dad throughout the weeks, he'll send me pictures from time to time when he changes things as well. I think it's part of the hobby, right? We're always evolving. We're always thinking of new things to be creative on our layouts. Before we start our journey around the layout, let's look at the track design. The layout has two loops of Gargrave's track on the main level and a loop of tubular track above on the elevated line that you see running around the top. The layout features a Ross double crossover to allow trains to move between the lines. It also includes Ross switches in the curved sections, which provide some interesting operating features while also saving a great amount of space. One of my favorite things about Dad's track design, Gargraves. Silky smooth. Oh yeah, you hear that? Scale auto racks, there's 6 of them here. But I roll that, it's like butter. It's almost soothing, it's so quiet. For those of you who've been following my channel, you'll know that I have fast track on my layout, which is about 6 times as loud as this. So let's take a journey around Dad's layout, and let's look at the details a little bit more closely. I'd like to start up front and center, at the location of this passenger station. There are so many scenes around this layout as we pass by, starting here at the passenger station, we follow this dirt road, which has a post office, a bike shop, and I love the little details here, which add so much life to this area. See the people hanging out taking a break after riding through town. The passing cars, and this hilarious dog on the fire hydrant. These are always a lot of fun to look at. As we continue on, there's a brewery with some folks right behind this main scene. You'll see a couple of cars parked here, loading up, getting ready to take their delivery to town, delivering fresh brews around the layout. One of my favorite structures in this area is this coaling tower, and it was built by a gentleman at our local hobby shop who passed away last year. I remember walking into the store and he was always there, and he would come out and he would just get so excited about whatever new engine we were looking at. And he always finished by saying, "Now that's something special." And I'll tell you, Bill, when I look at this coaling tower, that's something special. This is by far one of my favorite scenes on Dad's layout. I really hope one day to add this structure to my layout. It's just such a unique piece, and the detail is outstanding. As we move around this turn here, you'll see a couple of other neat details. This little bridge that transitions from this industrial rail area out into this more rustic, scenic area. You'll see the water feature with some fishermen. My family, we love fishing. One of our great hobbies outside of model railroading. There's some agricultural elements right over here as well. In the back, you'll see a similar dry goods building to what I have on my layout. I like how Dad did his because it's almost immersed in the woods. And you'll see that there are rail cars that can get to it. We'll talk about that yard in just a moment that connects to this area. But that rounds out this general area on the main layout in this section. Just a lot of great scenic features and a lot of interesting pieces to look at. As we focus our attention on this curve from a track perspective, you'll see that we have a couple of different staging areas. This allows us to assemble trains in this area of the layout. It is the most accessible hands-on area So we wanted to be able to put the trains together right here. So you'll see that our switching breakouts come around this curve. And it's really great because this is where we are able to get everything ready for our run sessions. Moving around these curves, we enter these tunnel features. And this is great because it allows the trains to give you the illusion that they are disappearing to go somewhere else. And it also provides a base for this tubular upper elevated line. If we move around the tunnel portals, there's a neat little scene right here with this trailer and this family that's barbecuing. Another really fun scene. You'll see this almost mine-looking entrance. That's functional. That allows us to reach those switches in the event that we can't get to them. So just a couple of functional and also scenic features over here. Like I said, Dad really put a lot of scenes into this layout. There's not many areas on here that don't feature some sort of scene. If we focus our attention back to the passenger station and head left, you'll see that we have a couple of retail areas. There's some little shops here, a little bit of life happening right over here on this railroad crossing, and it's a great way to transition from the small town feel to the city scene that Dad has assembled behind this main bridge. I like this transition of the two areas where the road goes underneath the bridge and then you have the city scene right behind the bridge. It gives this really neat feature to the back of the layout. It adds a lot of life and it's a very interesting element when you look at moving from the countryside to the more urban area of the layout. There is another water feature in the corner. This water feature features a little waterfall, and the water runs right next to the rail line, giving a neat effect of a water level route. If we look at these switches that enter the yard area, you'll see that we're able to come off of these main lines and move into the yard and the center of the layout. We wanted to make the yard one of the more central scenes of the layout because we can showcase engines here, we can park rail cars here. It's still somewhat accessible. We're able to get our hands back here if we need to get something and pull it out or put trains together. And it gave us the opportunity to open up visually the area so you could see some of the other scenic pieces in the back. One of my favorite features in the yard is this tower. Just a very prominent feature, very tall. I love the flashing beacon light. And if you look beyond it, you'll see the MTH water tower. Another great feature, it has the operating spout. So something fun that kids love to push the button and make the spout drop down. They think that's the coolest thing ever. But let's face it, so do I. I hit the button all the time as well. Die-cast cars. Man, Dad has so many die-cast cars. I've actually snagged a couple from here and like thrown them in my pocket and taken them to my layout. He always finds them, but he's always really cool about it. But he has so many cars on this layout, and it just adds that feel of motion, of a journey. So while the trains are circling these areas, you have all of these cars and all of these figurines everywhere, just really bringing a lot of life and a lot of personality and narrative to the layout. Let's focus our attention to the elevated line, and let's start over here next to the mountain. You'll see this cow pasture, and next to it is this scratch-built barn that my dad built. This piece, much like the coaling tower, is so special because this is a replica of a barn that sat on my grandparents' farm. It was where I learned how to stack hay bales. It's where we used to play as kids. It's where we did all kinds of projects. And the farm has since left the family, and the memory of it remains with this piece right here. Just really, really special. As we move away from this farm area, you'll see a grain building. Another really cool feature, kind of centered on the hill overlooking the layout. I love how Dad did the curve around this upper line. It adds a little bit more of an interesting loop as opposed to perhaps just a standard loop on the top. We use the standard loops on the bottom to maximize space and get the trains really long. But on the top, we used more curves to give more of an interesting motion to the train. As we move to the far corner of the layout, you'll see a wooded scene with a post-war beacon tower. Another focal point of the layout, a reminder that this hobby has been around a long time, a tribute to the post-war era that got us all interested in it. And as we round that final curve on the elevated line, we cross over that MTH bridge feature. And just a really neat piece, especially when you watch that train cross through the bridge with the buildings behind it. Dad's layout is 16 feet long by 9 feet deep. If we look below the main layout, there is this post-war inspired plywood table right below it. You'll see it has the green paint. It has a very classic look. Dad built this primarily for his grandchildren. So my daughters and my nephew love playing with trains down here. So we keep it fairly simple. It's mainly a grab and go section. So a lot of Thomas, a lot of Harry Potter going on down here, a lot of Polar Express happening down here. But we also use it for post-war trains. We do have a command line down here, so we can program engines down here when we need to. So again, another very functional area, but it's just another fun area, and it lets all kinds of activity happen. You have the big scale trains running up top, you have the post-war and like the fun kids trains running down below. And I mean, we're all just a bunch of big kids, so we love it all. Sometimes I'll spend most of my time running trains down here in the power section. So you'll see the transformers that Dad has that run this layout. We have two Z4000 transformers and this post-war ZW. Look familiar? Like father, like son. I hope you enjoyed this overview of Dad's layout. I had a lot of fun making this one. It was great to spend some quality time with Dad, even if he was more behind the scenes. He's not really big on the whole YouTube thing himself. Thank you all to all of my subscribers. Welcome to the channel if you're new. Glad to have you here. And we'll be looking forward to seeing you next time. My name is Chris, and this is RBP Trains. Have a great weekend.